Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome to another episode of the Cory Cast. Today's guest is my friend Tyler. He owns a marketing company called Two Boys Media. And what I love about Tyler, he is enthusiastic, he's genuine, he's positive, he's all around just a nice guy. And his marketing company really focuses on how growing your company's social media presence or your SEO, search engine optimization, really helps try to focus on growing your business to make sure that you get the most that you want out of it. And really, he's doing a lot of great things for a lot of great local organizations, from restaurants to, I think we had just said that he signed a Christian or Catholic organization, and he really focuses on helping people, and that's why I love Tyler so much. We talked about marketing plans, social media plans, UFC fights, and we even talked a little about family, and I got a little choked up at the end because I was talking about my dad, and the moment I realized how special and how fortunate I really was to have a great dad like mine. So I'll shut up now. Hope you enjoy the podcast. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, and also leave a review if you can on iTunes. I would much appreciate it. TJ in the house, baby. Dude, I'm excited you want to be on the podcast. It's very rare that people ask to want to be on the podcast. I usually got to like outreach to them, but there's a few. So I was like flattered. I was like, hell yeah, you can come on and talk about
an awesome
whatever.
pod, dude. Why would I not want to be on here?
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. You just started like a really cool new venture with your Two Boys Media, right? That's how you say it? Two Boys Media?
Yep. So the two boys are obviously my two boys, Giovanni and Gabriel. Everything I do, the reason why I took this step was, for them, and, kind of thought it was a cool name, and the little tag, the 2BM. I think that's like a cool nichey little tagline, but we're off to a roaring start. I've been in business for 8 days now. I've got 4 clients, a couple more pods after years lined up. Pretty much through word of mouth so far. It's going pretty good. I'm, excited to see what it turns into. So
what was the pivotal point that made you like want to go to marketing? Because you were a car salesman before.
So I was in the car business, but I was actually doing this for car businesses.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
That's where I found out that I was really good at it, and I could do it at like the high level, like corporate level, and it worked. And I could do it with big and small budgets, and I can build a big following. But the pivotal moment, I don't want to get into specifics with that employer specifically too much.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just felt like the timing was perfect. With the pandemic, it kind of showed small businesses how hard it is to get in front of your customers.
Yeah.
And I really just want to help out. And I'm, it's something I'm really good at. I know how to, build the following. And I can do it at the corporate level, but at an affordable small budget. So,
so when you are talking to these different businesses, is the marketing just social media?
Nope.
Like your social media management, or like what does it entail?
That is one of the things we do. That's one of our specialties. It's a full-fledged, digital agency. So web design, SEO. I have a couple SEO clients already. SEM.
What does SEO stand for? So the people at home who don't know.
Yep. So SEO is search engine optimization, and it's really self-explanatory. When people search for your business or whatever they're looking for, you pop up. Certain things you have to do to make yourself rank a little higher, certain keywords, certain meta descriptions and title tags. I don't want to get too specific, but some certain things like that. So
already 12 different words I've never heard of before. Already so many.
We're learning stuff today.
Yeah, no, that's when you would start with a new company, like say they need marketing help. How do you come up with a strategy? What's step one?
Yeah, so today's a perfect example. One of the meetings I had, the first thing I told the business owner was, I have 2 ears and a mouth, and I just want to listen today. I'm going to ask you a million questions. I don't want to do any of the talking. I want you to tell me about your business, where I can help, and what I can do to help you. I think starting every relationship that way and what can I do for you instead of what can you do for me will really go a long way. And I'm sure, in the real estate business,
Yeah.
it's very similar.
Yeah.
So it's very custom. Even my pricing, you'll notice on my website, there's no pricing because it's so custom. My business model will never be a cookie cutter. Here's what you want. Here's what it costs. No two businesses need the same thing, and no two businesses need the same approach. So it's very custom tailored, and I really just want to know what I can do to help them and exactly what they need. And a lot of times asking the right questions, I find out that what they think they need isn't what they need.
Yeah.
So just like it's a sales position in a lot of ways where I'm just asking a ton of questions.
Right. And when it's got to be so much different because there's two people you signed on today.
Correct.
And one's a Catholic Charities. The other was like a bakery.
Yep. So Catholic Charities of Oswego County, we're going to be their, their digital media partner, and then a local, hey, Crazy Mike, what's up? And then a local bakery from in Mexico. I'm from Fulton. Those are right next to each other, so it's from out in the homeland.
Okay. And going back to exactly what you said before, it is very different. Like between those two, that is completely different.
Almost could not be more different.
Yeah.
And that's where asking the questions and what I can do for you is so important. I have a list of 25, 30 questions that I just kind of rattle off or come out in just normal conversation.
And just,
I think
that kind of helps you figure out like step 1, 2, 3.
And in business and especially marketing, I think a lot of people kind of storm the door down and like, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're changing. Here's what you're going to do. That's not my approach. That's never been my approach, and it never will be. Again, I want to see what I can do to help your business.
Right. And that's got to be important, especially like if you have, I would imagine probably a Catholic Charities group. Maybe there's a little prejudice in me. Probably doesn't have a really great social media.
They do not.
Right.
Almost nothing. So that's almost more of like building from the ground up.
Right. Right. And
where
you're putting a plan in place to help them eventually take over that account, or is this something that you're like, I will help you with the content. I'll help you put out X, Y, Z.
Again, whatever you want. If you want me, and I just send you an invoice at the beginning of every month. If you want to keep rocking, we'll keep rocking. If not, awesome. I'm trying to build a long-lasting relationship. So
you don't have anybody sign up for contracts or anything?
I don't do contracts.
A month-by-month thing?
Nope. It'll be a monthly invoice. I don't want to lock anyone in. No contracts. Never will be.
Interesting. So was there like a final piece that made you want to take this jump and start this business? Was it just like one bad day at work? You're like, oh shit, I could do a lot better myself.
Kinda. All my life, I've always been like, I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to have businesses. Like nobody tells me what to do. Like, and it just kind of was like an accumulation of things. And then there was just like one day and I was like, man, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And it's having the kids and kind of like being told where to be, when to be there, how to be there. Like, I hate that stuff. And then actually, there is kind of like one moment I was having a conversation with, I don't really want to say he's like my business advisor or a mentor, but it was just a guy who's been around the block. I was having a discussion with, and we were kind of chatting on what my next moves could look like or what I could do. And he's like, have you ever thought about like doing your own thing? And I was like, kind of, not really. It's something I'd like fiddled with before. And I sent him to the Instagram that I had. I had like, so I have almost 12,000 followers on there. And it was something I did at the beginning of the pandemic. I had an idea of what works on social media to build a platform. And it was kind of like my case study. I wanted to see if it would work, the certain strategy. And it built up to, it was like 20,000 followers, and I hadn't posted in a while. So it went down to like 12. And he went and looked at it. He's like, dude, this is good. Holy cow. Like, you need to do your own thing. It's not hard. Go get your DBA, go get your LLC and do it. And I'm like, okay. So one day I picked up Gio from school. He's like, what are we doing today? I was like, I'm going to go start a business today. And I went right over to the Onondaga County Courthouse and filled out my DBA. And 12 days later, we're rocking.
Damn. Wow. That's cool. It's such an interesting piece, because I think a lot of times people throw that term around marketing, and it's such a broad term that I think it covers a lot of different things. to you, is it mostly focusing with the social media, SEO?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's one more thing too.
So for me, I don't think it's broad. I think it's very simple. And I think what marketing means is, who are you? What do you do? And what can you do for your customers? Your brand. Everything else is secondary. And where it gets hard is putting that in practice and putting out the content to allow the customers or the clients or the potential customers to know who you are and what you do and get your story out there. But I think as far as what marketing is, I think it's very simple. And I think it's just your brand. And I think it can be boiled right down to that, because everything else stems right from what your brand is and who you are and what you do for people.
Right.
So that's kind of what I think marketing means.
Okay. No, I think that's good. And especially in the day and age right now, there is so much content being pumped out. What do you think is one of the pitfalls people start getting into when they want to put out more content?
The first thing I see is just struggling to tell your story, especially if you're a business. I think a lot of businesses, how many times do you see a business the only time they post is when they're 10% off, or here's the car we have, or
Right.
they're not selling the story. Or so I have a lot of crazy ideas, and I think a lot of people have things ingrained that they think are true, but if you think about it for a second, you're like, that doesn't even make sense.
You got an example off the top of your head?
Yeah. So one thing I always say is, and this again sounds crazy, I don't want people to come to me when I have what they want. I want people to come to me to find what they want. Think about that for a sec. So specifically for the dealerships, I don't just post cars or what we have for vehicles, because everybody has those vehicles. And I don't want you to come to me because I had the Nissan Altima that you wanted. I want to build a brand and a story that you're like, I freaking love this dealership and I love this store. I'm going to go to them and we're going to find a Nissan Altima. That's the best business you can have and the best transaction. You're going to make the most money. You're going to get the most referrals, and you're going to build the biggest business, I think.
Just off of building content and building each new piece rather than just selling.
Yeah.
This is 10% off. This is 20% off.
I think the best social strategy and the best marketing strategy is almost never selling.
Mm-hmm. Like never posting something that you sold or deal that you have.
Yeah. Well, for you, it's a little different because people need to know what homes are available. But if you're a pizza shop, I don't think you need to post that you have pizza. We know that. Right. And I think a lot of people or a lot of businesses, they focus more on the product. And if they just turned the camera around and talked about themselves and what the story is and why we've been in business for 60 years. My grandpa did it. He came here he was a war refugee from Germany, and this is how we got the baker, whatever.
Yeah, whatever
that's
the story is.
Way more going to hit home than, hey, we have 10% off on donuts for the rest of the week.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that's what marketing is.
Yeah, and you had said earlier too that that is not, nobody cares that you have pizza, right? Also, the flip side, you're talking about my business, it's different because people got to know it's for sale. That's true, but at the same time, not your only piece of content as a real estate agent. I'm no expert, but I'm telling you right now, if the only thing you ever post is what you sold or what's listed, it's wasted posting.
You never want to be as good as your product, if that makes sense.
Right. I get what you're saying.
In that aspect, obviously you want a good product. You want to represent a good product. But in that aspect, a better example is, so for you, we'll talk because we're talking to you. So
yeah, let's talk
real estate. If you don't have houses that customers are looking for, you don't want to be as good as the market. You want customers to come to you and be like, we'll wait out this market, Cory. And the first house that pops up that we like, we're buying it with you because you're freaking awesome. And you've marketed yourself and your brand so well. We're buying you, not the market, if that makes sense.
Right. No, and that's exactly why when I got into real estate, I made it a push to get more involved in different social media aspects. I'm on more social media than I ever have in my life. Like LinkedIn. I never used LinkedIn before I was in real estate.
Everybody, dude. It's so slept on.
Right. And that's also, I think, if you give people a look into your life or what kind of things, like what does Tyler like to do when he's not marketing? I think people enjoy that more rather than a post every single week. You sold this house, you
Yep.
sold that house. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
think people are like, cool, Cory's selling houses. That's awesome. But it's like, then you maybe have questions, or maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's, it's tough for a lot of agents because a lot of agents have a hard time posting a lot of content. You know what I
Nobody
mean?
knows what to talk about.
Right. And they also have like, oh, this piece of content isn't like perfect. Like, I want to make this absolutely perfect. But a lot of times you're not going to get
Never.
perfect set of
Don't
content.
do that.
Yeah.
That's one of
Or you'll
my
never put anything out.
that's one of my like strategies, I guess you will. And I just released a quick little 15-second TikTok on this the other day, and I don't know if you caught it, and that kind of is why you brought it up.
It's right
But
in my subconscious. It must be.
the tagline was, "Stop being so fancy. Stop making your video cute and making one video a week, and just put out 3 videos a day of shitty lighting but a wicked good message and amazing value, and just put out 3 videos every day of just incredible value. Just marketing yourself and just pump them out." And if you are a person, and I am too, I'm kind of a perfectionist where I need everything to be perfect. Work on those videos and make the 15-second 3 video a day videos, and just pump those out while you're perfecting that one video is money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a strategy that that's worked for me, that I think a lot of other people can utilize too.
Yeah. And there is definitely a fear of always having the perfect content, but that's not really the case. And also too, by the way, if it probably does this, I don't think this rule applies if you're a pizza place. Well, maybe it does, but as a real estate agent, not everybody, like, I have other shit going on in my life other than selling houses. Like, I do this podcast, I do martial arts. So my social media is a direct reflection of that. Yeah, dude, we do. Yeah, I do Muay Thai. Did you know that?
So sick. I always wanted to try that.
For those who don't know, he trains at Tai Kai. Yeah, and I think people like a glimpse into your life. They want to know who they're going to be. When I work with somebody, when I work with a new client, when you put an offer accepted to closing, that's 60 days. I'm working with you at minimum 60 days.
That's a long time.
Not including all the time of us searching for a house. Some people, it's one and done. Doesn't happen very often these days. Other times I'm working with people for like 6-8 months. So you're pretty much in a relationship with that person.
Yeah.
At that point, so why not just show, hey, look, here's a kick series that I like to do. And I don't care if a client that I'm working with sees me in short shorts. I don't give a shit about that.
They are good legs.
Yeah. Thanks, man. They're pretty hairy. I got some hobbit feet, but what are you going to do, man?
Yeah. I think so. When I was in sales, I almost would never talk about the product. I would talk about me the entire time. And I would almost just like fill in stuff about the car. Do you know what I mean? Because I know as a buyer, 99% of the battle is I'm a dirty, rotten salesman, and I need you to like me to buy from me, and people will buy from who they like. And they'll spend more money to buy from people they like. And now here's another crazy one. I think product knowledge is super overrated.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh, man.
Doesn't
If you're selling
matter.
a house, you got to have some product knowledge.
Enough to speak knowledgeably, but I think it's way more important that you're personable and likable and people like you than it is that you know every nook and cranny about a house, by far, in my opinion.
And if you don't, being honest and genuine to be like, I don't know about that, I'll get you an answer pretty quick, though.
Yep, always honest and genuine. Absolutely, that's a good point.
Right.
But like, if you think about it in the inverse, if you know everything about the house, but you're like a terrible person, you're not going to sell any houses. But if you don't know anything about the house and you like divert to, I don't know anything, but do you love me? You're going to,
I could get the answer for you.
That's way more successful in my opinion.
Right. And do you think there's a lot, do you think that's like the most common pitfall is that people don't want to put out content that's reflective of them being genuine? Do you think it's just like, here's an ad blast,
I think a lot of people don't know how to do it, number one. And number two, I think, so a few things. I think people are scared of judgment. They're scared of what people are going to say about them or to them for putting out stupid content or too much content. People in general are just too worried about what other people think about them, I think. And then the third one, I think people are just too worried about what's in it for them. And they're more worried about stealing $1 today than 100 in 6 months, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think people are just so focused on how can I make $1 today that they jump over the tens and hundreds, the long term.
Well, also too, if you opened up a bakery, your intention was to bake bread and cupcakes, not learn Instagram and Facebook and all these other programs you might not use. Like there's so many different hats you got to wear, especially when it comes to marketing.
And that's one of the reasons why I did it. You got a million other things going on. Let me take that off your plate because it's time consuming. It's hard. It's difficult. Nobody knows how to do it. So, and I can do it at the corporate level, but again, you're paying me a small business retainer. So you're getting the top-notch level for low cost.
And how many people is it? Just you that's doing this?
Yeah, just me for now.
You haven't hired anybody yet?
No, I don't know if I intend on hiring anyone. We'll see. We'll kind of see where it takes me. I think like my number one selling point right now is every meeting you're getting the owner of the company, and I call the shots. I don't have to call anybody. It's my show, owner to owner. Let's talk business.
Right.
And I think, the further I get away from that, the more my company kind of loses what it's about. But all things go well, and we'll have to go into that next phase of business. So
all of a sudden, now you're in AXA Towers in the city. All of a sudden, you got your own like penthouse. All of a sudden, like what the hell, dude? Jesus, man, this took off way too quick. Do you have a calendar for people when you try to like plan out different social media posts? Like, how do you, at the corporate level or business level, how do you manage all that for them?
Yeah, so the first of the month, I'll send every owner a what I call a content calendar. So based on their tier of what they signed up for, what they're paying for, some clients I handle, quite literally everything. And then there's others where I just create the content and they post it 3-4 times a week. So whatever it may be, it's a rough draft of what we're going to post for the month. So what is it? Mid-November. So December 1st, I'll send my clients their content calendar for December, a rough draft of what I would like to post of the outline. And we can kind of plan our month based on, that calendar. And then things will come up, specials will come up, and we'll toss those in there. But you at least kind of want to get a macro view of what the month's going to look like. And that's kind of based on, so I have 3 pillars that I post on: educational, informational, and inspirational. So those are kind of the 3 things that we build each brand on.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Yep. Educational, inspirational, and informational. So every business, there's always going to be those 3 things, some more than others. And that's where we'll base all 3. That's where we'll base all the content on that's on that content calendar. And then the specials, the things that come up in the month, the announcements that came out of nowhere will be added.
Yeah. And how like, it's so crazy to me that you've grown Two Boys Media to already have so many followers online. Like, what was the plan for that in motion? Is it the same thing? Educational, inspirational, and informational? So
educational, informational, and inspirational.
There it is. That's a 3. Because that's pretty crazy. Over quarantine with dude, it doesn't have very many like posts. Like, you got maybe 10.
So I deleted a lot of them.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yep. So if you see the dates on the original ones, they're from, what are they from? March and April 2020.
Yeah.
So I did end up deleting a lot of them because I was going to start fresh when I started the company a couple weeks ago. And then I got like halfway through and I was like, this is too many. We'll just leave some. Because as a new company, I was like halfway through it. I hadn't thought it through and I was like, I'm going to need like proof of what a Instagram feed's going to look like. Crap.
Right.
And at the time I had like 10 or 15 posts left. But I was making 2-3 posts every day. One of the things that I encourage all my clients to do is find influential, organizations or people in your niche and live in their comments and make relationships with people in their comments and build a following through their comments.
Interesting.
And that's one of the things that I did. And then, the posting at the right times, using the right hashtags, that stuff I did as well. But really, it's kind of just a lot of thoughtful comments and just providing as much value as possible. You look at those original posts that I made; that's like high level agency stuff that I will I did and I will continue to give for free. I just want to put out as much value and help as many people as possible.
Right. Yeah. Like a lot of the earlier posts you have are like all the like informational slides and stuff. Actually, I think I can hold on, let's do it. Let's do a window. Oh, here we go. I can do a tab. Yes.
Hey.
Exactly. See? 6 reasons why you should be using ads on social media platforms. This would be informational, right?
So all that I left down there was informational, to be honest with you. Well,
right.
a lot of educational as well.
Right. Yeah, no, this is definitely, it's pretty cool. I think it's like it's such a big thing to take a bite out of. You know, it's not like social media is easy. And for a lot of people in my business, usually not like the most technologically savvy, you know what I mean? I don't mean that in the wrong way, but a lot of people are like, oh, social media. Or I remember when TikTok started coming out, the agents were like, oh, now I got to know how to use TikTok now. Jeez. Which is one that I am not on right now.
Get on there, dude.
I probably should be.
And another thing I always, and you'll see it on every post I make that I always encourage my clients to do, is make a hook or, a call to action at the end of every post. So at the end of every post, I put my tagline, which is cooperative strategy on budget. And then I put my website. So it gives you somewhere to go to link back to my website to bring you right to my services and what I do and what I'm about. You should always have a call to action on every post you make every time.
And a call to action is what exactly, for those that don't know?
Yeah. So literally telling whoever's looking at your post or whatever it may be to go here or somewhere to click. You never want to leave them with a thought, if that makes sense. So for example, say I'm posting, I'll use a pizza place because we've been using that a lot. Say I'm posting a pizza with a ton of cheese and it looks delicious. I never want to leave them with, oh, that pizza looks really good. I wonder where they're located and how much that pizza costs. So always leave it back. You can even leave a link to the direct special. Always leave a call to action somewhere so when you post this, put the YouTube link in the description so they can link back to the YouTube video and watch it. You'll be surprised how many more views you get, or at least backlink clicks, just by putting it there and just making it accessible.
How do you like learn all of this stuff? Like, how do you, in real estate, we have a thing where we have to do like continuing education, right? We're constantly having to do classes and sit through stuff. So how do you like learn all of this stuff?
Putting in the work, man. You'd be surprised what you can learn. So as easy, as accessible and awesome as social media is, and pretty much everything is today, you can learn all of that stuff just by Googling, YouTubing. There's 300, 400 books on that shelf. I've read every one once or twice over at least. Just put in the work and it's all available. You can even go to school online. I've done it. Like you can get a master's degree online on your computer. All you need is a laptop and some hustle. And that's literally how I learned all of it. Man,
that's so interesting. It's just it's such an interesting business marketing, and because I've had a guy on here before that helped a lot of restaurants get QR. Oh, you listen to it?
I'm way over prepared.
Oh, damn, dude. Nice. Yeah. And
episode 29.
That's right, man. He has got a different kind of strategy with things. And it seems like he has a niche, like kind of like restaurants are his niche. But it seems like you're just saying, whatever, I'll take whatever.
Yeah.
Catholic charity, bakery, man, just give me it.
And it goes back to honesty and transparency, like we were talking about earlier. So I have what I call the core 4 that I do really good, world class, that I think I do world class. So like social media, SEO, content creation, and that type of stuff. And then there's other stuff that, and I'll tell the client that's not my forte, but I can still do it at a professional level where you're getting a professional service. And it kind of related. So I was having a conversation with my buddy Dakota, and I posted that video last week. I kind of relate it to jujitsu, right? So you go in there, you're a white belt, you're getting absolutely smashed, right? By everybody. But a dude walks in off the street and you take his neck in 15 seconds. That's kind of how I kind of like correlate it to myself.
Yeah.
Is sure, I'm not like world-class web design, but I'm still way better at it than you are, and you're getting a professional service. And I'm just open and upfront about that from the get-go. And I'm not charging a world-class price for that service because I know it's not world-class. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pretty much everything in business and in life just comes down to being honest and upfront from the get-go.
Right. And I think that's the probably the best thing that you could do business decision is it seems like a no-brainer, right? But there's just some people that I think, like when you start in a new position, I know I suffered from imposter syndrome. So I think some people want to react by acting like a know-it-all and being kind of arrogant and getting in their own way. But I mean, that's just how some people cope with, wow, I'm in a new job field.
Yep.
Now what do? I have no idea how I should act, what I should do, how this really is. I've seen marketing TV shows. Is this how I should be? You know, like, I mean, I just feel like it takes a little while to get into it.
Wicked imposter syndrome where I feel like, so there's like two sides of me where, and the one that I like reverberate off is like very confident, like I'm that dude, like I can do it all, like I'm smart, like, and then there's the other side of me where I'm like, bye.
Yeah.
You're not that. Like, trust me, I deal with a lot of stuff inside that has come up in these last 2 weeks that I forgot existed or I had inside of me, of just like self-doubts, and just like everyone. I mean, that's not uncommon.
How do you manage it?
Yeah, I think just the way I've gotten through life is just relying on my people. I think, you know, nobody makes it on their own. Every man that makes it's got a whole squad behind him. You know, you saw my Facebook post the other day. Like, I couldn't do it without my people. I wouldn't have started this without my people. And it's funny that you use the term specifically imposter syndrome, because I literally just had this conversation with my wife after my first conversation with a client. So we were having a conversation on the phone, and I was like really nervous before. I was like, man, am I really about to have a client conversation in my business where I call the shots? And then the conversation totally just vibed. I knew what I was talking about, just rattled off the tongue. And I went upstairs with my wife and I was like, whoa, dude, like I'm really about this. And I literally said to her, I was like, the imposter syndrome's gone. Like, I've done it. I'm not like, I'm a business owner now. Like
only a few months in too.
8 days.
Yeah. 8 days, 8 days, son. Not even months, days.
And that was like last Wednesday. So that was like my 3rd day in business.
Yeah.
So imagine how real the imposter syndrome felt, where I was an employee my entire life until like last Wednesday or last Monday.
Right.
And by Wednesday, I'm having a conversation where I'm like a business. It's still like weird to even think about.
Yeah.
Where I was like, are you sure you trust me to do this, man? And like, you should, but just those self-doubts inside that everyone has, it was just kind of like, oh man, like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're going to screw up. He knows more than you. He knows that you're not this. And that's where, you know, you really need to rely on your people. And like I said in that Facebook post, like, my people reminded me, like, I really am that dude. I'm the hardest working person, like, that they know. Gets me through that.
That was a big thing that I suffered through when I first, because I was retail manager my entire life. I was a assistant manager for a company called Runnings, really great company, great people there. Dude, great place to work for sure. But I had been in it since I was 17, and when I switched careers, dude, you got over imposter syndrome pretty quick. I still had that for like 2 years until it was very much like you, where it was just like, I would go into a listing appointment by myself without my mentor. And I was like, holy fuck, I'm doing this. Holy fuck, I'm doing it. And then they would ask me a bunch of questions. I'd be like, I don't, Mr. Smith, I don't know. So I'll just go ask somebody the question and then I'll get right back to you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then 2 years after that, I'm in a listening presentation and I'm able to answer every question, give suggestions, and rattle stuff off the top of my head. And it was very similar to like you, because I went home and told my wife, I was like, holy fuck, I can do this. I can do like this. I know now I'm past this part. I feel so much better. I feel like I really am starting to get my feet underneath me.
Yeah. I think, and it really comes down to just like having the self-confidence and knowing you can answer those questions.
Mm.
And like, it's kind of fun, like self-esteem, like self-confidence comes from self-esteem. Like you don't have the self-esteem to know that you can do it when you first start. A lot of times where you're like questioning your self-esteem, and then like it starts to kick in and they're like one in the other and you're like, uh-oh, it's over for y'all. I know how to answer the questions now. I'm confident.
Right. You go driving home from the listening appointment, you're blasting like whatever music gets you amped. You're blasting like Wu-Tang Clan because you're like, yes, I did it. This is amazing. I did it. Finally, this is amazing. You know, It's like that feeling of just like relief and gratitude where you're just like, finally, I could do it. I can do it. I know I can do it. That was proof that I could do it. And for me, it was a listening, a presentation.
Whatever gets the job done, dude. And I like the word that you just used, and I am very big on this. Is gratitude and appreciation and appreciating every moment of the journey and every journey. You know, especially where I came from, like I just look around every day and I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like no thing happens in my life where I'm not super appreciative of every single thing. Mm-hmm. And you can even ask anyone that was at my wedding. So I cried the entire day, and I'm like not an emotional person. I do not cry.
Oh, I'm such a baby. I'm gonna tear up right now when you tell me the story.
But it was just like one of those days where like I couldn't believe that many people were there because they loved me, and like, and I looked around and I was like, I had the money in my bank account to pay for it. There was like a long time in my life where didn't know where I was gonna eat. And not only did I eat, but I paid for everyone else, and it was like wicked expensive.
Yeah.
And I could pay it, and it was just like I didn't have to blink to pay it. And I had a ton of money left in the bank account. And it's not to brag, it's just like where I came from to where like I appreciated every freaking second of everything that happened that day. It was awesome. And that's kind of how I try and live my life every day without the crying.
Yeah. Dude, I will be extremely transparent. And the day that I finally quit runnings was a very big sense of relief, because in retail, you do not get paid your worth.
It's a grind, man.
Dude, you do not get. And since I was 17, I was just in retail, grinding it out, saying, I'll get my store manager position one day. No big deal. I'll get this manager position, and then I'll be financially secure. And then you get the rug pulled out from you once, twice, 3 times, and then I was finally just like, why am I still in this job that is just very thankless?
Yeah.
Like it's very thankless. And to the point now where very much like you, that sense of financial security just kind of finally is nice to be able to not have to worry about that. When I worked retail, dude, it was paycheck to paycheck. If the furnace broke, like I fucking would have had to ask my dad for money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and just being overly thankful for everything I have is honestly something that I learned from Chris Smith. He is one person in my life who is constantly thankful.
Shout out to the new papa.
Dude, shout out to that new dad. I'm just fucking tearing up right now just talking about it. But he just
crying on the podcast right now? Are we crying on Cory?
I'm not doing that right now. Not doing that right now. He Chris, this is why he was in my wedding. He's one of the biggest influences of my life, right next to my wife and Mike Spuches. Like those are the 3 most influential people in my life. And it's because Chris completely showed me the power of gratitude. And
changes your whole life, dude.
Yeah. 100%.
So let me ask you a question and flip it on you.
Yeah.
So was there a day for you in retail where you were kind of like, I cannot do this anymore? What made you make the change?
Yeah, 100%. I'll give you the story. When I was working at Runnings, I was I was a department manager when the store in Clay just opened up. They opened up a store manager position in New Hampshire. And I was like, I'll just put my name in the hat. What's the worst that's going to happen? I have to move to New Hampshire. It's not a big deal. So I interviewed for it, and they gave it to another fantastic manager, Kelly. She was amazing, but she had more experience. She worked as an assistant manager for Home Depot for X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
But they loved me so much, they offered me what was called a store manager in training position, where essentially I would just go around from store to store, learn store manager procedures, and then if a new store opened up, I would take that position.
Gotcha.
Right? That year, that was like September or October. And then in January, Grandpa got diagnosed with stomach cancer. So I told my store manager that I had to kind of hang back for a bit because I want to make sure I took care of my grandfather, my family first.
Right.
Then he passed away. They were super supportive. They even moved me back to the Clay store, even moved me back closer to home because I was commuting to the Rome store. And a couple of job positions opened up. I put my name in the hat. And there's even one that they told me that they were going to put me in place of that position. They ended up giving it to someone else. But that moment for me, that was the moment that I was like, I need to get out of this job. Like someone told me, when this guy leaves, you're next in line. You're going to run the store next. People like you. You know what you're doing. You've opened up 3 stores. You know how to do HR stuff. You've done payroll for 4 different stores. We're going to give you the store. And then the other person got it. And I'm like, I remember driving home just like screaming, like, God damn it. But that honestly, TJ, was the best thing that moment was the best moment that's ever happened to me. Because if I didn't have that moment, I would probably still be in retail very miserable. Yeah. And who knows? Like who knows where I'd be, but I think like that in the moment, I was so hurt and I was so upset, especially after being told so many times that I was going to take that position. And then it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. It forced me to move my hand and make a career movement. Like when I went home that night, I was like, I need to get a retail. I need to do something. I need to do something that's way better on my mental state and something that is just...
Dude, mental state is so underrated.
Yeah, and like 100%.
Especially when we decide what we're going to do, like for half of our life in work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess this is a better way to answer, what the pivotal moment was for me. It's when I just realized, like, I come home every day and I'm miserable and I don't treat my wife and my kids right because of what goes on from my 9 to 5. And back to your, what you're saying, that's why I really think everything happens for a reason, and maybe it does or maybe it doesn't. But like, that's what helps me get through every day. And like,
18-year-old Cory used to cringe at that saying, things happen for a reason. 18-year-old Cory was like, no, stop with the baloney.
And it probably is baloney.
Yeah, but
it probably is. But
dude, if I didn't have
what's the alternative? The alternative is you're like, the shit's all random. Then what's the point?
Right. And if I didn't have that moment where he told me I was going to get the store manager position, and then 6 months later I didn't, like that, my life would have been on a completely different trajectory. I mean, who knows if I wouldn't even have a kid? Like I wouldn't have been financially secure enough to bring another person into this.
I think about that a lot. Like,
I know,
what would happen if?
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. It would be totally different. And I think I actually thank the gods that I didn't get that job, because I don't know who I would have been or what it would have entailed, honestly. Could I have done it? Yeah, 1,000% I could have done it. But the job I'm in now, selling real estate, making like legitimate connections with people.
Sure.
That is my business. Like that, this is like what I'm meant to be. This is what it feels like.
And I want to like kind of go back to what you said about like the thanklessness. That also does not exist anymore for you. And I would assume, and it doesn't for me.
Yeah.
In terms of in the 8 days that I've been in business, I've found it so much easier to wake up at 7, hustle all day long, and I'm still working at midnight. And speaking of cringing at lines, if you do something you love, you don't work for a day in your life. I thought that was such bullshit.
Yeah.
And now I'm like grinding for myself. Everything that I put in, I get out of it. And I really don't feel like I'm working. I
Yeah.
have to force myself to shut my laptop off at midnight because Maddie will be pissed if I don't go snuggle her for a couple hours before she wakes up for work.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I really could just grind all day because I know literally whatever I put in, I'm getting out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I call the
Yeah.
shots. And I know you've got to feel that same way with real estate because, I mean, you kind of are. You are your business owner. You run the
Yeah.
show.
There's a couple parallels between my business and yours. We're both private contractors, right? Like you have your own business. I have my own business. I don't have a boss that tells me I have to.
Right.
Or you have to sell X amount of houses. Like, no, that shit doesn't exist. At least with Howard Hanna, there are some brokerages that are like
Sure.
that, but there are definitely some parallels, and the fact that maybe I'm on call 24/7, right? Like if someone texts
Sure.
me about a house, like I gotta answer, but that is way better than the alternative for me. And you're right. Like this is a thankful, like in real estate, you are dealing with people's the biggest moment of
The
their life.
biggest.
If it's good or bad, divorce, somebody passes away, they're marrying, they need a house together, first time homeowner, they're adding a little human to their family. Like that is so much more
Sure.
meaningful to me than, hey, here's a lawnmower. Have a good day. You know what I mean?
Totally
Like
agree.
it was in stark comparison. Not that there's nothing wrong with selling lawnmowers. Just for me, this job, and I've said this line many times on this podcast, is it gives me an opportunity to fill my cup as well as yours, rather than just
Totally agree.
fill someone else's cup and say, see you later.
Couldn't agree.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say because I completely agree. I think you have to have a reason why you wake up in the morning and feel good when you go to bed at night, and knowing that you're giving people a world-class, awesome experience in the biggest purchase of their life. When they're nervous, they're calling Cory. They're like, I'm about to spend $300,000. Holy crap. Can we
Right.
just talk for a minute?
Yeah.
And you can give them that. You're that comforting voice and the voice of reason
Mhm.
in between. That's kind of like why I started the business. Like I said, the pandemic really kind of exposed like how freaking hard it is. And it's really freaking expensive to hire an agency. So
Yeah.
I'm good at it. So let me help small businesses grow every day and nonprofits and build their community outreach and do it at an astronomically cheap price.
Right.
Like the last thing I'm worried about is money. My bills will get paid. I'll figure it out. I'll add more clients, whatever. That's a conversation for another night. But I really just want to freaking help people and help businesses and help nonprofits. That's why I do it. Do you know what and
Yeah.
I know you approach real estate the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. You kind of have to have that approach, especially. I don't know, dude. Like it was just it's just so funny. Like you bringing up like all this stuff with running is just like, man, it is funny how just stuff works out for the right reasons.
Always works out, right?
Yeah. If you take this step, like if I just ate dog shit the rest of the 2 years and just shoveled out and kept taking retail for the rest of my life, then I'd be stuck, right? But sometimes you need that jump to get you into a position where you feel like you're an imposter.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes a couple seconds of courage, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple seconds.
It's like jiu-jitsu, right? When you first go to jiu-jitsu or even Thai, right? You feel like a fool.
It's
right?
overly terrifying.
So scared. When people come to my class on Fridays and I'm like, all right, cool. Hey, I'm going to start a timer. We're going to shadow box. You guys can watch. You can move around. You can jumping jacks. Yep. Just do whatever you're comfortable. Because I know that when you're in that position first day, you're like, he's throwing elbows.
Yeah. And not only are they throwing elbows and you have to get in a fist fight for fun, you're doing it with a bunch of people you don't know barefoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's something about not having shoes on that's like super exposing.
Yeah.
And I don't know anyone here and we have to fight, dude.
Nothing I do outside of my house do I ever have my shoes off.
So weird.
Yeah.
And I do say, like, if I see someone that's never been there, I always try and like say hi or like welcome. I always try and put myself in other people's shoes in every part of life and just be like, I know how uncomfortable it was to walk in there and not know anyone and see.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some dogs in there that we trade with every day.
Yeah, some scary dudes in there.
Some intimidating. Chris kicks like a freaking horse, dude.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
Yeah.
You're not that physically intimidating.
Yeah, not at all, dude. I'm
But
just
no,
like, I got the body of a 14-year-old.
but you walk in there, you see all these dogs, you're barefoot, you don't know anyone. I know how awesome it would have been if one of the dudes with the armbands on came up to me and said, "Welcome to class. Let's frickin' party."
Yeah.
I would have totally let my guard down and had so much fun. And
Yeah.
you or Chris did it. Chris came up to me.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, you ever been here before, man?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Cool. Awesome. Like, tag along. We'll ask any question." And I was like, "No shit, dude.
Yeah.
Let's frickin' party." And now,
what made you want to get into martial arts? I don't think we had this conversation.
No. So I've always been a huge like fight fan.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my dad, who's a complete loser, so he was a Gold Glove boxer from the Bronx.
So
And he
like a loser.
well,
Sounds like
trust
he'll
me,
beat your ass.
he used that boxing on a lot of people that he shouldn't have.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
keep it at that.
Yep. Yeah, he's a scumbag.
Yeah. So that was my first fight when I was 12 years old with my dad.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's a conversation for another day. So when I was younger, he got me into boxing. So I have a little bit of a boxing base from when I was younger. And I've always just like loved martial arts. I love the art of it. And then a few 4 years ago, probably, I went to Tai Chi a few times, and then life kind of just got in the way, and I threw it aside for like 4 years. And then I was like, it was just like, again, another one of those things where it's like, I'm just going to go back and dive head in.
Yeah.
And I went to jiu-jitsu a couple times, and I've always been enamored by striking. And so I literally just walked over to the Muay Thai room one time just to like, I was kind of like flirting, just like looking. And that's when Chris came up to me. I had no intentions of even going to class. I was just looking. He's like, "Hey, you ever been here before?" I was like, "I've never been in this class." No. And he's like, "Come freaking party." And now, I'm eons ahead of where I was then. But dude, there's just something about, I love Muay Thai, dude. And you've seen me in there. I'm just like throwing shit from everywhere. I truly think it's like such a like freeing art. Like when I step on there and like my bare feet hit the mat and I'm just like free, dude. It's like truly such an art. And you, like, I sound stupid right now, but you know what I'm talking about because you've seen me in there before. Like when we're just like working our kick series and I'm doing spinny shit and I'm like kicking people from everywhere and just like throwing 6 different legs. I'm just in there living, dude. Just like throwing shit. And it's just like so much fun and so freeing.
It's ironic because your first day there, you think everybody's judging you, but in reality, nobody is really judging you because they're all trying to do really random shit. And guess what? Those people who are there have been in your position. They know that when you first join your first day, you're going to be a little weird. I mean, who isn't? Yeah. You got a bunch of grown-ass men with their bare feet throwing kicks at each other.
I like that we've really like grasped onto the barefoot thing.
Yeah. No, it's a solid point. You brought it up, and I literally have never thought about it until now.
Is that a great point or what?
Think about any other time you go outside the house where you have bare feet.
You are not barefoot ever.
The beach, maybe. I'll give you the beach. Right?
But even then, you're with your dogs. Nobody's at the beach by himself.
Yeah. Right. See that, and that's the thing. Right. That's with the homies now I understand why people like to wear socks when they first come on. I say I never understood that. I'm always like, get those bad boys out.
I'm glad I could enlighten you on that one.
You get the grip on those. I got like thick hobbit feet. They're like large and really hairy. So like I get some nice grip and traction when I throw my cross. You know what I mean?
Your cross be spitting too. You kick hard, dude. You kick hard for what do you 145? 135.
145.
Just dude. A cute little thing.
Yeah. My old fighting shape was 135, dude.
So it is the Cory cast.
The body of a 14-year-old.
So why don't you enlighten the folks on why you started martial arts?
Oh shit. When I was 8, 9, my mom signed me up for LaValle's karate. Their Mighty Morphin karate.
Dog, real quick, I was a Power Ranger when I was a kid.
He had, I'll never forget, the school that I trained at had a picture of the Green Ranger, Jason David Frank, on the wall of the studio because I wanted nothing more than to be a Power Ranger. But I did it for 3 months, and then my parents said we just couldn't afford it. It was too expensive, right? So then I've just kind of just fell away from it. Started doing soccer when I was younger, and then Spooches, Mike, and Eric, they always used to invite me over to their house to watch the UFC fights. And I've always loved martial arts, even when I was watching UFC. And I'll never forget the fight that made me finally was the nail in the coffin for me doing Muay Thai was Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin.
I had a feeling it was going to be Silva, but I had a different guess.
Anderson Silva versus who?
The first one I remember, the first like UFC I ever watched was Silva Weidman 1.
Oh,
when Silva was taunting and Weidman caught him with that right hook and put him to sleep.
Exactly.
That was sick. But I was wondering if we had a little synergy there, maybe.
No, dude,
it Silva
was that Forrest Griffin fight, dude. That was the moment that I was like,
"Oh, hairy chest."
What was that? And I remember Mike being like, "Dude, that's Anderson Silva's Muay Thai," and head move. I go,
"Yeah,
that's Muay Thai." And then literally the next week, I asked PetSmart to add hours into my schedule because I was going to. I think I was just out of high school, and I had
circa what year? Age yourself a little bit.
2009.
Okay.
I signed up for Taikai in 2009 after that fight, and then I had PetSmart to ramp my hours up higher so I could afford to train at Taikai.
Dude, what was that, like UFC 62?
Oh my God. I don't know. Now you're going to make me Google it. I'm going to see. I bet you it was 2009. Let me see. Anderson.
Dude, so
for the record, it's in my search history.
I love that.
August 2009.
I'm thinking here, right? So I'm thinking from like a business person's point of view, a marketer's point of view. What the hell do you put in a description for this podcast? Because the first 30 minutes was very in-depth marketing. The next 15 was like deep. We were ready to cry. And now we're on UFC 62, Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin.
Welcome to the shit show, TJ.
What
shit show?
What pay-per-view was it?
In the wind. August 8th, 2009. And if I ask Kenny, I bet you he was probably just coaching around that time when I started. 2009. And when I watched that fight, I was so blown away at how fucking good Anderson Silva was. He did not get
unbelievable
touched. Dude, the best quote ever, Forrest Griffin, when he got interviewed, he got knocked out, and when he realized what happened, Forrest immediately left the octagon. And people were like, well, why didn't you stay for the interviews? He was like, I didn't even want to. I was embarrassed with that fight. Even I couldn't even show my face after that. Literally, Anderson's just moving, and he sidesteps backwards, throws an overhand, and hits Forrest on the chin, and Forrest just crumples. All while he was just clowning on Forrest the entire time. And that fight, I was like, I need to sign up for jiu-jitsu. I need to do, it was Muay Thai. I was doing Muay Thai for 2 years before I even touched jiu-jitsu. Funny enough.
The pinpoint accuracy of Anderson Silva will live on for generations of fight fans.
Anderson Silva in his prime.
He was like the first one, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know what I mean by that, but the first one where you're like, so think about what UFC originally was, and it was like style versus style, right? And I don't want to say Anderson was like the first. That would be disrespectful to the sport, but he was like the first one where you're like, oh my God, this is a real life athlete.
There's levels.
People's ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where now you're seeing the Kamarus and the Francises who could play in the NFL and the NBA and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But now there's money in it and there's real dogs.
Yeah.
When I don't know if that was necessarily the way it was back in the day, but Anderson was the first one where you're like, this is a true athlete who chose to beat people up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was disgusting.
Right. Because Forrest Griffin, dude, he was not a slouch. Not a slouch at all up to that fight. He was lightweight champion at the time. I think he was 2 or 3 fights after he had lost the belt. I can't remember now, but
did he lose to the math teacher, Rich Franklin?
He starched Rich Franklin. Are you talking Anderson Silva or Forrest?
No, Forrest.
I don't know. Forrest Griffin versus Rich Franklin, actually.
Also, one of my favorite stories of early UFC. Imagine you're in your 7th grade math class and your teacher is the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah. What? See, now I need to. Okay, yeah. Rich Franklin versus Forrest Griffin.
Come on, dude. I'm a historian, dog. I'm a
Yeah, dude,
historian
you
of the
got those
sport, bro.
dates. Yeah, 2011. Damn, son.
What
Damn.
happened?
Forrest Griffin by decision, round 3.
Okay.
It was the co-main event on UFC 126.
Who's the
And
main event?
you want to know the main event, dude? Only one of my favorite knockouts ever. Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort. Knocks him out
Hey,
in round
are you
1.
even in Muay Thai if you don't mention that front kick once a week, dude?
Once. That's the greatest teep knockout next to this past weekend that just happened. That is the greatest foot jab knockout in UFC history. I'm telling you. The distance, the timing was just dude.
Do you want to know the best knockout in UFC
Now you got
history?
me hyped on Anderson Silva in his
Let's
prime.
see
Now I'm
how
just like,
much you watch fighting.
let's see.
Yair Rodriguez at the bell rings, up top elbow to Korean Zombie, sleeps him. Do you remember that?
Yep. Yeah.
I remember to this day thinking, why is he sleeping? What just happened?
Mhm.
Dude, this podcast really has touched 7 different topics.
That's what I'm all about. We go all over the place. Listen, I told you, there's no game plan. I might have a couple of questions written down in this notebook.
Some Joe
I'm
Rogan
telling you
shit.
right now, there is
Joe Rogan
no
shit.
game plan. There is no game plan. I just want, listen, we talked about your business, right? Check.
I have a question.
Talking about what you're passionate about? Check. And I got to show how cool of a person you are and plug your business. So that's a win-win for me, Doug.
I appreciate it. I'm still ready to rock for another hour, to be honest with you.
Dude, I can't. Another hour? Oh, my God, dude. This
You tired?
is not Joe Rogan. I can't pump out 3 hours, dude.
Listen, so I do have a serious question back to business. I know for me, having kids, like, wicked totally changed how I see, like, business and life. Take the floor for, like, 3 minutes and tell me how having the little fat man, like, changed the way you see life and how you see business for you.
When I got into real estate, this was pre-Ashton, and I would say yes to every appointment, every client, everything that walked through the door. Now that I have him, I have to be more intelligent about how I spend my time.
Just a little selfish in a way.
Yes, to a point, right? Like I still run a good business. Like before, I would end up kind of running in circles with people who either A, didn't have a pre-approval, B, would have me show 10 different houses and we never wrote an offer and would ghost me. And since I had Ashton, I put a lot of rules and things in place. Look, I've showed houses to a guy with no pre-approval 3 years ago, and I went from Fulton to Chittenango to Oswego to Auburn to all over the place, and it did nothing but just completely waste my time. And I cannot do that when I have Ashton because I do not get that time back ever. In real estate, about 60% of the time ends up in divorce, okay? Listen, this is not about the kid anymore, too. This is also about my wife. I got to make sure I spend time with her and spend time with my family. So putting those rules in place, really having more of a tight business, for me, really had to change when I had him. I really had to make some business changes when I had him. And
so was that a conversation you had and ongoingly have with your wife, or is that kind of something you kind of just like made in your mind? You're like, I'm making this decision and this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah, this was like mostly in my head. Like prior, we still made time for each other. We still were like it was very important to make sure we had Brittany and Cory time, which is actually, I've said this before, but the Google Calendar on my phone has been a lifesaver, right? Because I can put my appointments in there. I can see this weekend she's got pumpkin picking with the family. Time's blocked out. I can't put any appointments in that day. Sorry. That has been a game changer. But it was always prior was her and I time. And then when I had Ashton, I remember in the hospital holding him while Brittany was sleeping and just being like, man, shit's going to get so much different now. In a good way, right? Like, but
so we talk about imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Yep. Right
when
there.
you hold your kid for the first time and you're a dad.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a little bit, because I know you felt that.
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. When I held him, I knew everything was gonna change for the better. Like things were gonna be awesome. I mean, it's stressful, right? The first few months,
Very.
especially when you have a baby, you're not sleeping. You're kind of in this weird haze. Like Chris just told me, he's like, I don't even know what day of the week it is, and it's very true. You have no
Yeah.
idea what day of the week it is. But I was very fortunate that I have a really great dad. So it's like when I held him,
Very.
I was like, fuck, how am I gonna like fucking live up to my dad's the coolest fucking dude ever. Like I love that guy. Here we go. Here, I'm gonna show something. So we have that charity stream coming up, right? He took it upon himself to print off all these like little like wooden tokens for us.
Oh, that's so cool.
For our
Dude,
stream.
3 Lives is sick, by the way. They have
Dude,
the
is,
hey, real plug, quick plug for 3 Lives.
Yeah.
They have tater tots, dude. They have these
Amazing. Yep.
If you're listening to this live on Instagram, or you're listening to this on the YouTube or the podcast,
Yep.
go to 3 Lives and get the freaking loaded tater tots.
Thank us later. Thank
me later. The shit is bomb, dude.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. But I've been very very fortunate that
that'll be a 1999 plug.
And I was more worried how I was gonna live up to my dad in that moment. And also, holy shit, I have a baby. What do I do now? I'm like, oh god. Damn it. Figure it out.
Point, do you think you've lived up? Are you everything you thought you would be? Or have you lived up to your dad, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. He's alive. He's healthy. You know, no issues.
Alive,
He's still alive. But no, yeah, I just I'm giving myself this one. Yeah, I think I have. I think I'm too hard on myself.
That's
too hard
good,
on
though.
myself. I'm giving
You
myself. I think I'm a good dad. I'm not worried about, especially because I put those rules in place. I feel like if I went crazy with real estate, I think I would for sure be a shit dad.
I think
it takes time.
Our generation will be like the first generation of fathers that like care in a way with respect. Like I think like the previous generation, like I think it's reeled back a little bit every generation. And our generation is the first generation that like both of us, we've admitted that we've given up things to spend more times with our kids. And
you're right.
I know I do, and I know you do. Just knowing you, I hug my kids, both of them, kiss them on the lips and tell them I love them 97,000 times a day.
Yep.
And that wasn't really the way it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's...
Do you think you make it a point even more because your dad was rough?
Yeah, for sure. And that's the cool thing where, like, you have someone to live up to. It's a good and bad. Like, I have an idea of what I don't want to be, and I try every day to not be that. But I also, like, don't really have anything to, like... Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, it's definitely good and bad. Like, Mark Lawson's got some big shoes to fill, right? But that just holds my ass to the fire even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to like having kind of a rough upbringing or a rough dad. Then you just want to be like, I don't want to be like that piece of shit.
Yeah.
I want to be
better.
I
have a question and then something to build on after. Do you think it's been a positive or a negative that you have something to live up to? And the reason why I ask is because it's part of my point next. Go.
I think positive, because for me, I'm a very much a self-motivated person, right? If like I have a good influence in my life, so that was it was never going to be an issue for me. But I think some people might want a shit example of what not to be a good dad. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
So it's kind of two-pronged. So I've forced myself to trick myself that it's a complete and utter positive, and the reason why I am so motivated and successful is because I had a shitty home situation.
Mm-hmm.
And like every concurrent move that I've made has been because I was homeless at certain points. I didn't know where I was going to eat. Like, dude, like we used the stove to heat the house type poor, like
Yeah.
poor.
Right.
And so every move has been like, my kids are not doing that shit. Like when I was 18, 19, and I didn't have kids, I went to college because I knew eventually I was going to have kids and they're going to have something to live up to. Like there's something to be said about not having something to live up to. Like, so I think everybody has a different purpose on life and why they're here. And I think mine is to change my family's like legacy. No man in my family's ever been to college. My dad's a fucking loser. Like beat my mom, left, loser. Haven't talked to him 3 times in 15 years. And I was put on this earth to change the men behind me and change our name. And the reason why I ask if you felt like it was a positive or a negative, because, and people have asked me all the time, why did you get an MBA? Why are you doing this? Every single move wasn't, I didn't want what the MBA did for me. And Jake O'Donnell's in here, and I've said this to him, and he'll confirm. I told him, and I tell everyone, I didn't get the MBA for what it would do for me. I did the MBA for if my kids want to get an MBA, not only do they know they can do it, they know they belong. And I got in these C-suite conversations, and I started a business, and it's going to fucking explode, and I'm going to kill it. And it isn't even for me and what it'll do for me. It's what it'll do for them. And again, if these C-suite conversations and these suit and ties and the people in the big, tall buildings, my boys don't just, they can't, not only can they just be there, they fucking belong there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to ask, like, maybe I'm going a little too hard. Maybe there's a little too much to live up to, you know? And I think life's all about a balance. But, you know, I've tricked, again, I just want to bring it back to, I've tricked myself into believing the best fucking thing that ever happened to me was my dad being a loser, man. Mm-hmm. Jake O'Donnell, all facts. Because I told him the same thing like 4 years ago. And he knows what it's about. So.
Yeah. And listen, like, I think a lot of times that could be a good motivating factor for a lot of people that might kind of need that. You know?
And going back to, I don't know where I would be. Holy hell.
Dude, my dad was the one that bought me the real estate course when I remember like calling my dad, or maybe it was at a holiday when I was explaining to him everything was going on. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna get out of retail. I think I'm gonna get a new career. And he's like, well, what do you think you're gonna do? And I remember telling him I had just written down like things that I want out of my next career. It was in a notebook that I wrote down. And
you still have it?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I lost it after when we had switched around from the offices. And man, I fucking wish I still had it. That's a good point. Damn, I wish I had.
That would be so sick.
The point I was saying was I had wrote down in the notebook 3 bullet points or 4 bullet points of what I want out of my next career, right? Like I still wanted to work with people. I still like talking to people, hence the podcast, right? I wanted to do something a little bit more impactful, right? And what was number 3? I feel like number 3 was a very broad term, like be excited to get to work or be excited to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And honestly, there was like 3 jobs that I thought of. One was I was gonna cut hair. I was gonna be a barber.
Okay, I can see you being a barber.
Dude, I could be a barber. Why not? 2, real estate. 3, I was gonna start my own boxing company line. And I didn't do the other 2. Obviously, I went into real estate. And when I told my dad, I was like, I don't know. I think I'm leaning kind of towards real estate. I think that'd be a fun job. I had interviewed a couple of agents that I was friends with, so I got a feel for like what the job was and sat in on a couple of meetings, which was pretty cool. And then literally the next time I saw my dad, he was like, he hands me a sheet of paper. He goes, here you go. I go, what is this? He goes, this is your New York State licensing course for your real estate license. So here's the code. You're going to have to log in online, put the code in, and then you have it was a Groupon. That's what it was. It was a Groupon. That's what it was. He was like, here, the course is only going to cost you $100. He's like, I'll pay for it too if you want. I was like, what? What do you mean? I was like,
That's so cool.
when he put that in my hand, I then like when I grabbed the paper, I was like, oh shit, I can't back away on now. Like he went through the trouble, like set everything up, found a school that I could go to get my license, and then put me in a position where I almost couldn't say no.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you try to be that person for other people?
Yes, definitely more than I did before. Dude, before I got into real estate, I was extroverted. I think people can switch between the two. There's like some people think, no, I'm extroverted, I don't want to talk to anybody. But when I got into real estate, I was like, if I get into it, I have to be a lot more outgoing than I am right now and really kind of change my persona. Because think about it, when you work retail, you're not going out and meeting people and trying to get new clients. They come to you, right? And then you deal with runnings. I was probably dealing with like 100 people in a day, like between associates, customers, phone calls, and emails. And now that's drastically cut in half. And I feel like I can give my clients the best version of myself because I have more energy. I'm not so socially drained from things.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Love that.
Yeah.
So you think you were a little bit more introverted?
100%. Yeah. When I was in retail, it was I would work my shift, come home, play video games, go to bed, or it would be work my shift, go to Taikai, shower, and bed. Like that was like my routine. It was no social, no like me reaching out to people and shit like that. Like it was I just stayed in my lane. That was it. But when I got into real estate, I was like, I really gotta branch out more. I gotta start learning. Like, dude, I was watching YouTube videos on how to network with people. Like, here's how you should talk to people, and here's the best way you should communicate.
There's all that free info I'm talking about, man.
Exactly, YouTube, dude. Exactly.
Dude, I've spent thousands of hours on YouTube learning a million different things.
I watched a YouTube video on how to change my sump pump, and it went pretty well.
Nice.
So far, so good. TJ, this was an hour and 15 minutes. This is the longest podcast I've done.
The best one, I'd argue.
And the best one. Yeah, that's right, dude. Thank you for doing the podcast, bro.
You had a lot of different topics.
We covered marketing. We covered social media. We cried a little. We talked about UFC. We talked about our families. Listen, dude, this was a great podcast that covered pretty much all the boxes.
I'm ready to come back on anytime.
TJ, once more, tell them your social media handles, and then I'll put it in the show description below.
So it's at 2 Boys Media. So Instagram's the only one that's the number 2 Boys Media. The rest of them, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, is at TWO2 Boys Media. And then you can find me at 2boysmedia.org.
Best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, probably the email. So it'll be, that's not a good one. Never mind. Just reach out to me online. My last name's really hard to spell. If you want to put it in the description, you can go ahead. It's Tyler Terramiggi at 2boysmedia.org. But there's 2 different places you can fill out a submission on the website, which is 2boysmedia.org. Small businesses, nonprofits. I'm out here trying to freaking change lives, baby.
You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it. My buddy, TJ. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you, bro. Thank you.